gentlemen, let us call to order our special City Council workshop of February 16th. And the second item on the agenda is ATV grant update.
All right, I was going to give you an update on our ATV grant. We had a contract that came up for the property just to the northeast of, well, actually north or southwest. I'm going completely backwards.
That's good.
Of the water treatment plant. Currently, they're looking at the engineering on how they're going to construct their building, and before I bring the contract back to you guys for the use of our property for the actual trails, we may be needing to do some dirt work around there. That includes part of our property, if not on this side of the creek, on the west side of the creek. I'm waiting for their engineer to contact our engineer to kind of go through that process. But I want to give you guys an update on where we're at. So, any questions about the ATV grant?
Is there any way to have any other kind of trails along with these with the ATV trails, you know, like walking trails or bike trails, or
I think they had those planned all in there with it.
Is there some in there? I didn't recall.
Yeah, I think they actually had part of that as the health benefits to all of that down in there. So that's all part of the program. So, but when we bring it back, hopefully, what I was hoping for is that we have a completed engineering project to bring back to you guys to know exactly where the official trails are going to be, where the building's officially going to be, and what spaces they're going to be utilizing. So, as soon as they have that, I'll bring it back.
Okay. Do you have any kind of timeline on that?
No, I do not at this time.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the ATV? Okay.
Give you guys an update. First and foremost, congratulations on the successful capital improvement sales tax election. The first year is probably going to be the most tenuous of all the years because we'll be collecting the monies and paying it out at the same time with probably a little bit of contingency funds in there. But I wanted to let you guys know that the official collections begin in July of 2016, which means our first remittance check from the Oklahoma Tax Commission will be in September, which is going to be very good in our planning aspect, that it lines up with next year's fiscal year. So as we go through the budgeting cycle of planning and implementing that, that will be a separate fund that we'll bring it back to you guys. So there's no major planning to do at this point in time, other than we'll probably be bringing an ordinance to coordinate the amount of our use tax with our sales tax, probably in the next month, and also hopefully as we go over the next few months have specific projects that we'll be completing in the first year, probably up to and including our Accessio Library project, probably a couple of small youth and senior activity projects, some update to our fleet, the ladder truck, and probably our street equipment, and maybe even the fence around the cemetery in the back end of fiscal year 2016-2017. So anyway, I want to give you guys kind of an update on what the plans and the timing are of the upcoming year in conjunction with the capital improvement sales tax. Any questions?
So if I recall some of our previous discussion, things like the roads, which happen to be again a high priority with the citizens too, the purchase of that paving equipment was going to be one of the first things that we
but like any other, everything still is going to be pretty much coordinated with next year's fiscal year. So we still have several months before July comes, and we start our collections, and then a couple of months after that before we actually start collecting those funds. So as we go through that budgeting cycle, I'll have specific dates to present to you guys on our estimated revenues and then our estimated expenditures for that first year. The first year I said was probably going to be the most difficult, but because we'll just be getting that money for the first time, then determining the ways that we're going to make our purchases as we go through that first fiscal year. So after that, we should have enough money left over on hand that's left over from each budget cycle, each fiscal year cycle, to bring and carry forward. So, any other questions?
The the Excelsior building, I know our previous dialogue had been a consolidation of community help, not-for-profits. Do we have an idea of who those all might be, or?
Yeah, I'm in conversations
for
for them right now. I don't know if they're wanting me to speak publicly on who they are at this point in time, but I definitely know that I have at least 4 right now we're in conversations with. I think there's a possible 5th out there too that I've had a conversation with today. But as we kind of go forward, we'll start solidifying who's going in and what type of project it's going to be when it comes to not only securing the foundation and putting on a roof, but what we're going to do with the interior of it to maximize the office space that's in there, plus kind of making a conference room, breakout rooms for them also. So a lot of that stuff is already over there and kind of conducive to having office spaces all located at the Accessor Library. But as we go through and plan for all of it, we'll try to see if we can't figure out all the contingencies that comes in to making that a proper facility for that nonprofit center.
To clarify, so we're gonna have multiple agencies or organizations in there at one time? Okay.
Yeah, I think our vision is to have a one-stop place for anybody that's in need of help from those nonprofits. Kind of to be able to go in there and have the ability to be directed to what person and what organization they need to speak to at that point in time. But more than anything else, it gives all the organizations an ability to share costs when it comes to overhead on utilities, even possibility of sharing costs when it comes to personnel at that point in time too. So
Is there gonna be rent?
that's something that we'll have discussions on going forward. But my hope and aspirations are that'll be minimal, so they take as much of their money that they're getting from outside the community, inside the community, and distributing it back into the community. So.
I know feedback that I've received from multiple sources talk about the perceived significant benefit of kind of the one-stop shopping that you're talking about, Bruce, that people that are in need have one primary focus area where they can go and have an array of potential help from nonprofits, community nonprofits. And so I think that would be a valuable asset for our citizens. Good? Good. Anybody else?
Okay.
Number 4, discussion of oil and gas wells. I do have several ordinances from communities throughout the state of Oklahoma, and after discussions with most all of you, we're kind of going to be concentrating on what we can do to make sure that the sites are as clean as possible, the ingress and egress are as clean as possible, sound levels, smells, anything that's aesthetic, we'll be taking a look at and bringing that back before council. So you guys have a chance to hopefully define what those sites are when it comes to everything that may be of value to the citizens as they drive by and how they're affected on a day-to-day basis from any of those sites that come in. I do want to say that we don't have the ability to shut down natural gas or wells. That's part of state law and the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. I know that there's been significant talks around the state of Oklahoma when it comes to earthquakes. Those are just things that are outside the scope of the city council or the city manager of the city of Guthrie to address. I will say that if there's any elected representatives at Oklahoma City that's representing us on our behalf, or the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, we want to stress that that's something that does need to be taken care of, both on the short-term and long-term basis. I have several pictures of going in the basements of a lot of our structures in our downtown, and it's actually shaking the mortar in between the rocks onto the ground, and there's mortar built up right there that's probably 3 to 4 inches high. So every time we have one of those quakes, it's weakening our buildings downtown. So we'll be addressing those concerns with whatever representative we need to talk to let them know that in order to protect the assets of the city of Guthrie, we need to take a look at that, whatever we can do to help alleviate those earthquakes, both short term and long term. So.
Do you have a timeline in which you bring a draft to the,
It'll probably be next
to us?
month, probably
Next
March.
month? Okay. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Number 5.
Uh, Yeah, EMS. A few months ago, Chief Harlow and myself had some conversations in regard to our ordinance when it comes to EMS. I don't think they've been updated probably since the 70s at the latest. It may have gone back further in time than that. A lot of the things reference Logan County Hospital and don't necessarily address what we do as policies and process in our current EMS. So we've reviewed that ordinance, and we'll be bringing something to you guys in a very short time frame, probably again next month, in regard to just updating our EMS ordinance. Then above and beyond that, we've got an offer from the Mercy Hospital in regards to our medical director, and I've asked Chief Harlow to get us information in regards to what we'd like to do in that position into the future. So we'll be presenting you guys all that information again next month in regards to updating our EMS ordinance and our medical director position. So, any questions?
Okay. Moving along in great fashion.
Now, the Commissioner of Land Office, that is concerning our land swap. We did get our letter off to the CLO. They have since then sent a letter back stating that we've completed the first part of the process, which is notifying them. Now it's under notification. They'll be taking it back before their board and allowing us know if they want to take the next step of starting to see the viability of assessing and appraising the land values and doing the swap. So we have now given over to them, letting them know that we're interested in going through the process, and now we're on to the next step. And I don't have any more updates to you to see what that next step that they took in February. As soon as that is, I'll get that information over to you guys, but I wanted to update you on the process of that land swap, possible land swap.
And of course, everything that was tied up, or a lot of things that were tied up concerning youth sports center, sports fields, is kind of obviously tied into that because the location would be different.
Yeah, one of the questions that was posed to me during our chamber coffee in my presentation on the capital improvement sales tax, someone had a really great question about what do you guys plan on seeing in the first 2 to 3 years completion. And I didn't mention the fields for youth activities at that point in time, because this process in itself may take anywhere between 9 months to a year. And just seeing what the first step of the process is, it may take longer than that. So I didn't answer in the affirmative on that, because by the time we figure out if we can do land swap, then do the actual planning for the facility and executing the facility, it still may be 3 years down the road. So
Yeah, let's hope it's not.
no, not yet.
But it could be. Some things we're just not in control of.
Correct.
That would be, that first phase, or first step, is clearly one of those. The 7th item is the low water dam.
You guys approved construction of a low water dam during the budget cycle. Engineering has began on getting all the information we need to get over to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and it's currently under their review. So until we hear back from them, we won't be moving forward on specific plans. But I will state this, is that I've had a conversation with an engineer, and I want us to take a look at another location along Cottonwood Creek, just for the fact that we own a lot of land around this spot down here around the elbow. So I want them to take a look at an alternative, see if it may be more cost efficient, both long term, and see if that's something that we can actually utilize, kind of going off to downtown. As I walked down Oklahoma Avenue the other day, and I kind of looked out that way, I was sitting there thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if we had another body of water right out our back door of a downtown. So I'm going to be taking a look at that to see if that's a viable idea or a viable project for us. So I've had discussions with a couple people, and they kind of bring that idea back to the forefront, from the back of my head to the front of my head, and so I want to just take a look at that and see if they can't to kind of be a dual project for us. And I know that we've had a lot of discussions about what can be done with that property at the elbow. It was originally a floodplain, so maybe it's could be a purposeful floodplain, allowing us to have additional water, and also maybe having some activities that are water-based right off of a downtown. So, anyway, any questions about that?
You're talking like closer to the Fifth Street Bridge there, or?
I don't know, whatever's, I think I want to take a look at exactly what land that we own and where the dam would have to be, how high it would have to be to flood the portions we need to.
No strange things at Fifth Street Bridge.
Fish, yeah.
Same here.
Right.
Alligator.
So anyway, as we go forward, I'll bring that back to you guys for the actual specific project and let you know if there's any other options out there available to us.
So what's under review with the Corps of Engineers, the original plans?
No, I think anytime, yeah, that's a lot of it. But in the state of Oklahoma, I think the Corps of Engineer is actually a part of nearly every lake except for maybe one or two. I know that Grand Lake was part of Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, but U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are responsible for nearly every other lake in the state of Oklahoma. So anytime that you dam a floodway or a floodplain, the Army Corps of Engineers are the ones that are specifically responsible for the review of that project, going back to everything that involves floodways and floodplains, flood maps, and everything else. So anyway, they're the ones that are responsible for it. So.
Okay.
So is there a potential they could nix it?
Well, not necessarily. I think more than anything else, they just want to make sure that they know and understand what the project is.
Okay, item number 8, CVB.
We got a proposal from Oklahoma State University that they could go out and review and let us know after the review who all of our current tourists are, who are coming in for our major events, who are coming in on weekends, who comes here to do day trip shopping, but along with that, they also have the potential to access a database of all people who are potential travelers into this area and ask them what their perception is of Guthrie. Have they been here? If they haven't, why they haven't? I think that's something that we would like to see if you guys have any questions or something that you guys may give your blessing on for us to move forward. I want us to have a database for us to move forward to make sure that in the future years as we execute our tourism plan through the CVB and utilize that $100,000 a year, that we're using it in the most effective and efficient way possible, and making sure that we know who our current base is of tourists that come into town, and also who our potential tourists are, to see if we can't go out there and affect some positive change and getting more people in and growing that pie. We're being very fortunate. I think this year our revenues from the hotel motel tax are up as compared to last year, and with a couple new hotels coming online soon, we expect those revenues to continue to go up and up, and I want us to kind of be business minded in this aspect of going out and finding again what our statistical data is of who's currently coming here and maybe what we're missing out, and see if we can't get some more people in here. Hopefully you guys have been able to review that, but I'll be happy to answer any questions or what I know about the project right now.
Well, I know that the marketing firm that the CVB hired that was primarily focused on branding, did they not have any kind of this kind of information to share with us?
Not necessarily, and that's the one thing I've been very pleased with working with Oklahoma State University, is that they have an entire hospitality program, and they do these types of studies all over the world. And I think our branding program is more about how we present ourselves to people in all kinds of different areas. But I kind of asked the question right back to the fundamentals about who's coming here in the first place. Because we want to make sure that however we brand or however we market or however we present ourselves, we're not offending, first and foremost, the hardcore people that are going to come here on a weekly basis anyway. Then after that, are there other people that are out there that just don't know about us yet and should know about us because they've already fit into our core values? Then as we go forward, it will help us in our discussions with our CVB board about how we're dispersing our money. Not only marketing, but all the internal events that we have right now too, is that as of right now, it's based upon kind of everybody's word that this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how effective it is. I just want to make sure that we are being effective in the ways that we say we're being effective, and we can prove that back to our citizens who have entrusted us to go out and spend that money in the most efficient and effective manner that we can. And I know just like retail recruitment, tourism recruitment of getting people in here is not an exact science, but it'd be nice to at least have some information to begin the discussions about who we are, where we're at, and where we're going.
So when would we be making this, or when is OSU making the proposal to us?
They've already made the proposal, and as of right now, I think Cody and I can go out and execute it at any point in time. And then it'll essentially take 1 year. I want them to come in with their surveys and randomly ask people that are here during the day, during the week, and on the weekends, but also hit people that are going in here for our major events over the entire year. That's kind of what I've been doing since I've been hired, is going to all of our events and activities and seeing how they work from the inside and from the outside, and kind of taking my notes as we go forward on some things. But I'd also like to have an independent firm, essentially Oklahoma State University, and come in here and go, this is the database that you guys don't even have the potential of utilizing because you guys don't know where it is or how it is, but they already have a lot of that data about who could possibly be coming, and figuring out what we can do to market to get to them also. But anyway, it would take an entire year to build up all that information about who currently comes here, but I think they could probably get that information about what our perception is from all travelers right now pretty quickly.
Is this cost-based, or is it something that they're doing for projects for students?
Well, it's cost-based. It's going to end up costing somewhere around $20,000. I think they quoted us about $30,000, but they have to have an automatic markup. But because we're a governmental entity that essentially is just like them when it comes to being an Oklahoma entity, that they'll knock off about that $9,000 of that. But the $20,000 is mostly just for their work, their actual work, and expertise in that field, and putting together the data and stuff like that. But yeah, that's one of my first thoughts anytime you work with Oklahoma State University, is to see if I can't get some students to help go in there and crunch some numbers for us. And I've been fortunate that they've done that before, but we want to make sure that we're utilizing the expertise they have in that entire department too. So.
Thank you.
And how does this kind of coordinate with what the Arts in Guthrie is talking about, doing some kind of a survey or analysis?
Yeah, they're doing an economic development analysis on what arts contribute back to a community, and that is specifically geared towards just the arts. We want to make sure that we do a comprehensive review of not only arts, but all the events and activities we do, from Lazy E Arena to Bluegrass Festival to Art Escape to 89ers, and kind of everything else that I may be living out at this point in time, but not just one specific area. We want a comprehensive one across all the areas of tourism and tourism development.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, 9 we've already kind of touched on a little bit.
Yeah, accessory buildings, we do have, I went and presented for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we should have a workshop at some point in time. So whatever ideas that you guys have concerning accessory buildings, let me know, and I'll be presenting them to that workshop at the Planning and Zoning Commission sometime this month. I know we had one planned up, but it had to be canceled, but we'll have another one coming up in the next few weeks. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I'd be more than happy to make that presentation. So.
What are some of the specific buildings that you're considering accessory buildings?
Well, I think more than anything else, what we're looking at is defining, what type of accessory buildings, materials of accessory buildings, number of accessory buildings, size of accessory buildings in the different zoning categories and of Guthrie. Like many Oklahoman towns, we have high-density residential to residential that has one house per hundreds of acres. So we're going to just see if we can't use some logic and common sense values on determining what type of building should be in each one of those types of areas. So it may not be one size fits all. We want to take into consideration, all the different aspects that go into and all the different variables that go into an accessory building in different parts of the community.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Number 10, TAP grant.
All right, ODOT TAP grant. We have money that came from the Mumford & Son concert that was in excess of a average sales tax month for the month that Mumford & Sons was available. That money is somewhere in the neighborhood of $220,000, give or take a little bit. There has been a downtown improvements committee that has been working on ideas, projects, possible programs to utilize that money. Their recommendation was to make improvements along Division at the blocks between Harrison and Noble. At that point in time, the specific projects were redoing the intersections of Oklahoma and Division back to the south to just about where Harrison and Division intersection takes place, and it's called Phase 1. The total amount of the project, which including resurfacing the actual intersection, adding some bump outs, adding some streetscaping and some lighting, was in the neighborhood of about $440,000, which essentially was about a 50-50 grant between the city of Guthrie and the ODOT TAP grant. Since that point in time, they've actually come out with kind of the rules and regulations of the grant and the scope of the grant. And the actual scope that you can actually make application for, instead of being $450,000, is now $700,000. I reconvened the Downtown Improvements Committee and had a discussion about what they would like to see improvements made. If they want to see these improvements made that they originally voted on and accepted and made recommendation to council. And the meeting went very well in giving us direction that they would like to continue to see that type of project take place. The good thing is that we actually have more money to make application for, so we have more scope of the project that we can make an application for. Instead of just one intersection, we're going to go back and reconvene the committee to see if we can't do something on getting both intersections done at the same time. The committee was very astute in pointing out that both intersections are of equal importance, just depending on which direction you're traveling. If you're someone coming in and traveling southbound for the first time, Oklahoma is going to be your introduction to our downtown. If you're traveling northbound, Harrison is going to be your introduction to our downtown. It's also been my experience that the best to do as much as you can when you can, while you have the opportunity to utilize one contractor, one set of materials, and one bid when it comes to buying your street lighting. Because I ran into the case where we did a Phase 1, several years later we came back to do a Phase 2, but the street lights were no longer available for purchase. So you'd have two different sets of lights. So along with that project, we'll also be taking a look at some of our street lights in the downtown area, especially the ones that are overhead power lines. And we're going to see if we can also add the ability to maybe do some work along our sidewalk to see if we can't bring some of that electric underground and replace some of those overhead lights. I think we currently have about 22 overhead lights at the downtown that don't necessarily match up with our street lights that border along Oklahoma and Harrison. Also with that, the street department has done a good job of giving me some costs, and I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $7,000, $7,500 to go through and repaint to black our current street lights downtown. And we may also want to look at replacing all the different types of sign posts to make it more vintage, to make it more circa 1900 looking. And I think that's going to be somewhere around $35,000. So we may be adding some value to the ODOT TAP project to go above and beyond just the grant portions to make it an environment that's very inviting to anybody who's visiting our downtown. I think my goal is to not only meet the expectations of anybody that comes to visit us, but to exceed them. So once they step out of the car, they know they're in an environment and surrounded by buildings, lighting, sidewalks, and even the posts themselves that just scream out, you know, this is a period of buildings, architecture of around 1900. So we've had all those discussions, and we will continue to have those discussions, and I think the deadline was originally the end of this month for our initial application, with final application coming in March, but there's been enough communities around the state of Oklahoma that have wanted additional time, that have moved back those dates to now March 30th, with the final deadline of being in April. But after the committee meets again, and having discussions with Laterra, our engineers on this project, we'll come back with a detailed project to City Council to make application for that TAP grant. Along with that, that TAP grant also allows for us to build sidewalks, and we may be making an alternative application too to see if we can't get some additional funds to build a sidewalk between downtown and Industrial Avenue. So they have those funds out there available for that also. So it'd been great if they would have actually kept the deadline the way it was. I think we'd have been in a good position to be some of the front runners to access that grant money. But I think a few more people decided to get their engineers going and see if they couldn't grab a big piece of the pie also. So, but anyway, those are our two ODOT TAP grants, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on either one of them.
So
Go ahead.
what's the backup plan if we do not get the grant?
We'll get I guess we'll come back and readdress at that point in time. I know that I had discussions with the Downtown Improvements Committee about utilizing that money to go and do a lot of aesthetic work around downtown, and also off the intersection of I-35 and Highway 33, on some lighting down through there. But I think more than anything else, we want to make that application. If it fails at that point in time, we'll come back and readdress. I think that it is the desire of the committee, it's been the desire of the council, and it's the desire of staff for us to go out there and do something that's going to be very positive for the community and make an impact that people can see and have a little pride in what we're doing with that money. And there's no longer a question about how much it is, where it's at, what it was utilized for, but more than anything else, it's time to get it off the books and get something done with it. So.
Are these grants all matching funds, or?
Yeah, it's 80-20. More than likely, at least on the downtown project, we'll be well above the 20% minimum from the city side, and that will do nothing but improve our chances of securing the actual grant itself.
And has there been any dialogue at all about turn signals at those major intersections too?
There is, and that's one of the things we're going to take a look at and ask our engineers what is going to be available grant-wise money. But right now, from our estimates, just to replace the signalization is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood, including going back and either having wires or having a camera so we can have operating turn signals properly, other than timing, probably gonna be somewhere around $200,000 an intersection, just for the lights.
Wow.
Expensive
Is
as
it
well.
possible that there's no provision to have that light to turn left to the west, flashing yellow instead of red? When it-
Yeah, there's one.
We can take a look at it.
And
So,
then,
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
they can start doing that.
Oh, like there in
That's-
Edmond?
that's-
Flashing yellow left hand.
Yeah.
Backing up there,
Yeah, so
there's
that you
nobody
can
coming.
go wherever,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like those.
I do too.
Edmund's really
They-
done that on.
we also
their-
have those out there on I-35, 33 now
7.5
too.
million.
They're in a lot of places.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I knew it was expensive. $7.5 million.
New way of showing things.
Yeah, that's the uniform way now.
Is Justin on
To
that
go with the,
committee? to go
Yes.
with? You okay with everything?
okay. Well, that's the last item on our scheduled agenda.
Wow, we
They
covered
said-
a lot.
They said that it couldn't be done, but,
45 minutes is not
but
bad.
maybe they've said that to our city manager before, I don't know. He proves them wrong, yet again. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the extent of our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.